The following program contains explicit support for the War of Independence. If you are a pacifist, Randall may not be right for you. Check with your local Quaker.
Agnus Dei, qui tollis peccata mundi, miserere nobis.
Standing for truth in the four corners of America. Fighting for justice on the frontiers of the culture wars. And turning resistance into an art form. Randall Terry.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. A horrific shooting at the Washington Navy Yard. 12 innocent people dead and the murderer dead. And right off the bat, the Obama administration seizing the opportunity to politicize their agenda. Well, we'll meet fire with fire.
We are going down a path that leads to tyranny in this country. If you want to see what tyranny looks like, then just look at the worlds that the Klingons dominate. No, you blistering idiot. The Klingons are not a real race. They're from Star Trek. Star Trek!
Hello, friend. As you surely know by now, a 34-year-old man, Aaron Alexis, walked into Building 197 on the campus of the Washington Navy Yard. He got onto the campus using his government ID. He had a secret security clearance. There are literally hundreds of thousands, perhaps millions of Americans who have that ID card. And the people at the gate saw the card, let him in. He had his gun in his car. And then what we understand at this point was that he shot his way into the building, where he killed at least 12 people before a SWAT team dispatched him. There are going to be serious recriminations, but before we discuss those, let us remember to pray for the families of those who saw a loved one go to work one morning, and then the next time they see them, they're identifying a body. It's horrific. It's unthinkable, and our hearts go out to all of the families. And I will spend time later in the show berating President Obama and his team for immediately politicizing this horrific act of violence. But first, some issues. This gentleman had been on various medications for mental illness. He had a sleep disorder. He had paranoia. He was hearing voices in his head. This is somebody who was clearly troubled. Beyond that, his secret security clearance, which was granted to him in 2007, by the rules of the military, should have been revoked, right? And it was supposed to be renewed, if my understanding is correct, at 5 years, and it was a year overdue. This is a massive failure on the part of various officials inside the government, all right? The security involving this man had all the strength of a sieve, and yet he kept his security clearance, he kept his card, and he walked onto the campus and he murdered people. As you know, the president is now poised to use this tragedy to further his anti-Second Amendment agenda. Of course, one significant aspect of this shooting was that he used an AR-15, which was the same weapon used in the movie theater in Colorado, where so many innocent people were gunned down. I'm going to point out the obvious, and I ask your forgiveness if you're offended, but this is already completely politicized. And so we have to stand toe to toe with those who would try and take away our Second Amendment rights. What held true in the movie theater in Colorado holds true on the Washington Navy Yard. Namely, that if people in the theater or people who went to work as government employees at the Navy Yard were simply allowed to arm themselves, simply allowed to arm themselves, there just wouldn't have been that loss of life in either location. Now think about it. These people are there working for the U.S. government, the Defense Department. They're there for our protection, for our security. Many other federal agencies have offices on that campus. And yet, they're not allowed to arm themselves. I want to point something out to you. When's the last time you heard of a policeman who went postal? Remember that expression? Because there were the various shootings in post offices, like this shooting, where a disgruntled postal employee would go in, a troubled postal employee, and would begin to shoot people. I have never heard of a policeman who had a mental disorder, and they're out there. I've never heard of one going into a police station and opening fire against fellow policemen. Why? Because the police are armed. And if these men and women had been allowed to simply carry a personal firearm, a lot of them would still be alive. I'll be right back. Every day in America, over 3,500 babies are torn apart by abortion. Shouldn't all babies, like this living, unborn child, have the right to life? Baby killing will only end when Americans see the truth of what abortion does to innocent children. You can help end this Holocaust by showing the truth of abortion in your area with a Face the Truth tour. Go to facethetruthamerica.com to set up a Face the Truth tour in your area. The babies and their mothers will be eternally grateful. How would you like to be able to reach hundreds of thousands, perhaps millions of potential customers with your product or your company or your web-based business? Well, you can do that right here on this show. Every single day, we get phone calls or letters or orders online from states all over the country where people are watching this television show. Right now, we are seen in 45 cities at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time every night, and then a rerun again at 12:30 midnight. You can reach them using this show at advertising rates that are so inexpensive, it would blow your mind. So, if you're interested, contact us at the phone number that you see on the screen or the email address, and we can talk about how you can grow your business and help support this show. The first duty of a university is to teach wisdom, not trade, character, not technicalities. Sir Winston Churchill. Welcome back to the program. White House spokesman Jay Carney said that the president is now preparing to use his executive authority to bring some action to curtail, to infringe upon our Second Amendment rights. As of this taping, we do not know what that action will be, but you can bet that it will not be constitutional and that it will be a threat to your and my right, our God-given right, and our constitutionally delineated right to keep and bear arms. I want you to ponder well what I'm about to tell you. President Obama and his team have been waiting for this incident. Since the school shooting at Sandy Hook, where they brought out that list of executive orders which were mostly weak and anemic, they tried to politicize the death of those children. They tried to encroach fairly unsuccessfully at that time. But they've been waiting. Statistically, they knew that another mass shooting would happen. Whether it would take 3 months or 3 years, it was going to happen. And so they have been waiting for this to pounce on it and to weave it into their narrative because of their political agenda. Their narrative is very simple, that the Second Amendment should be abolished, that you and I, as free Americans, should not have the right to keep and bear arms. That's their narrative. And so they have been waiting for a tragedy like this to further their political agenda. I want to point out to you that every time a story happens that does not fit their narrative, we don't hear from President Obama. Hardly a day goes by where a news feed doesn't tell a story. Hardly a day goes by without hearing about some criminal who was breaking into a home to rape or murder the people inside or to steal, and he's shot dead or wounded. Or where somebody is about to become the victim of a carjacking, maybe a kidnapping, and they pull out a firearm and they dispatch their attacker. Hardly a day goes by in America without a story like that. That's a good news story. I mean, it's sad that there was violence against a criminal, but the criminal, in many cases, in most cases, deserved it, okay? And when somebody defends themselves successfully against the loss of their life, or against being raped, or against their children being kidnapped or raped or murdered, that narrative is a shining endorsement of the Second Amendment and the deterrent factor in owning firearms. Statistically, where there are more firearms owned by good, righteous, law-abiding citizens, crime goes down. That's a narrative, and it's one that is scientifically and statistically provable. President Obama doesn't weigh in when those incidents happen. He doesn't step to the microphone and congratulate the woman who saved her children from being raped or kidnapped or murdered. He doesn't have his press secretary, Jay Carney, go to the microphone and say, "We want to pass on our congratulations to Mrs. Smith, who protected her family and did the community a great favor by making sure that she was properly armed and was able to dispatch her would-be killer." In other words, the president is far more concerned about his ideological agenda to take away our Second Amendment rights than he is about the protection of life and liberty. President Obama, he should be ashamed of himself. The facts speak clearly that, as George Washington said, a well-armed society is a polite society. Success cannot be guaranteed. There are no safe battles. Sir Winston Churchill. Do you want to have knowledge, wisdom, discernment? If so, you have to read good books on theology, history, books that look at the lives of great men and women. So to help you to become a more effective Christian, a better witness for truth, somebody who can engage in productive conversation that exhorts and edifies those that you speak with, we're going to do something crazy. We're offering you these 7 books for a gift of any size. You just pay for the shipping and handling, and then give whatever gift that you can, and we will send them to you. But just to make it a little bit more crazy, I will send you a second copy of my 3 books, autographed. You can give them as a gift to your pastor or to a family member and help extend truth and justice in the world. This is while supplies last. James Madison said, "A well-instructed people alone can be permanently a free people." Welcome back to the program, friend. Should people with mental diseases be allowed to own guns? Did you know that up until very recently, being an introvert was considered a personality disorder? in psychological literature, I'm not kidding you, in psychological literature, having the personality traits of an introvert was a diagnosable problem. So if you're an introvert, should you be allowed to have a gun? By the way, I want to say one little story, and then I'm going to come back to this, because Obama is going to go after this mental illness thing. That's going to be where they try and really put the hook in. One of the members of our staff during the break mentioned that when he worked for the government, he worked for many years at the Washington Navy Yard. He was not allowed, even though he worked for the government, he was not allowed to carry a weapon onto the campus. And he often had to park 3 or 4 blocks away in a neighborhood that had one of the highest crime rates in all of the United States, okay? If you're familiar with that area of DC, it's rough. It is really rough. A lot of drugs, a lot of crime, a lot of killings. He was literally afraid for his life every time he had to walk those 3 or 4 blocks because the government wouldn't let him carry a firearm. Couldn't protect himself. Now, that same friend, by the way, might just be the type of person, even though he worked for the government, might be the type of person that the government says, you're not mentally stable enough to own a firearm. How could I say that about my friend? Well, he's like me. He's like some of you. He's a prepper. A prepper. So to bring it all the way back around to mental disorders, where we're headed if we don't stop this juggernaut is for the government to require, under Obamacare, that doctors ask a series of questions of their patients. How many guns do you own? How many bullets do you own? Are you packing away food? Do you have certain precautionary measures that you're taking? Because if you're doing all that, maybe you're paranoid. Maybe you're delusional. Maybe you're showing signs of voices in your head. Please understand me. I think it's a tragedy that this man, who had clearly diagnosable issues psychologically, and God only knows what he was thinking when he killed all those people. But people with mental disorders are going to get guns. They are, all right? In New York City, it's against the law to own a gun, and the best estimates are that 8 million handguns exist in New York City. 8 million. And if you go to the mean streets of Harlem and you go to some other areas in that city, people there have illegal firearms. So if someone has a mental disorder and they want a gun, they can get one, all right? But good law-abiding people who really try and obey the speed limits, even when no one's looking, and people who don't steal, even when they can't get caught, because they want to obey the law. If those people are, for any reason, questioned and have their right to own a firearm taken away because a doctor says that they show signs of some mental disorder, guess what a lot of them are going to do? They're going to obey the law, and they're not going to have a gun, and they're not going to be able to protect themselves. So the fact that this man had a mental disorder and killed all these people was, in my opinion, the exact narrative that Obama was looking for to begin to put his hands on the Second Amendment and wrench it from us. And he's going to go after those crazy people who turn to God and the Bible and their guns, like he said years ago when campaigning. Those crazy people who are a danger to all of us, they're the ones who shouldn't have guns. The ones that are prepping shouldn't have guns. The ones that have more than 2 guns shouldn't have guns. The ones that have more than 500 rounds of ammunition, etc. People, mark my words, he's going to say that you're crazy. Do you want to get America out of the hands of wicked and unjust men and women who are destroying the republic before our eyes? and put leadership back into the hands of righteous men and women so that we don't die as a nation? Well, you're talking about social revolution, and there are rules in social revolution. We can look at the victorious social revolutions of the past, such as the end of slavery, the end of child labor, women's voting rights, the end of segregation, and so much more, and learn from their victories. Look at their actions, their images, their rhetoric, their sacrifices, and their final fruit. We will send you this series that originally cost $129, 7 books for students, 1 teacher's guide, if you'll give a gift of any size and just pay for shipping and handling. Take advantage of it today. Because he cleaves to me in love, I will deliver him. I will protect him because he knows my name. When he calls to me, I will answer him. I will be with him in trouble and will rescue him and honor him. With long life, I will satisfy him and show him my salvation. Welcome back, friend. News stories are suggesting that Aaron Alexis was involved in video games, violent video games that show murders and allow the person controlling the buttons to kill people. Where in the Constitution is that protected? I'm baiting you. There is a very good argument under the First Amendment, free speech clause, that there it is. But one thing we know for sure is that the Second Amendment is specifically delineated that the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Period. A second grader, a third grader can read that and understand it. Now, conversely, look at the free speech issues, the free speech debacles, the free speech evils that have been perpetrated on us, not through our legislature, not through the Constitution, but through federal judges. The most glaring is pornography. The second would be, perhaps most glaring, would be these games that are falling into the hands of people, teaching them to kill innocent people. There never was a legislature that I know of that passed a law that overturned the decency laws. We all have free speech, right? But we cannot walk into a crowded movie theater and yell, "Fire!" We can't do it because of the danger it poses to other people. But we should be able to walk into a crowded theater carrying our firearm. All right? The onslaught of pornography, the degradation of children, these violent video games, all of this stuff has come to us through court rulings that have taken away the people's ability in the several states to monitor or to criminalize things that are so vulgar that they are not protected by the First Amendment. Just like yelling "fire" in a crowded theater is not protected by the First Amendment, up until the last generation, it was not considered a constitutional right to produce pornography. And during the Reagan years, they actually started locking people up. The federal government and even the Supreme Court said that this type of wicked First Amendment activity, this type, is actually still criminal. And the Reagan administration was going forward. The Clinton people came in and they said, no, we're stopping this. The moral of this simple story is this, people. The right to keep and bear arms is delineated. And a lot of the other stuff that's destroying this country is not delineated, and it came to us from an out-of-control, tyrannical judiciary. Let's fight for the Second Amendment.
Thank you.